What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another Bitcoin analysis. Not only Bitcoin, actually, we got to go into ETHBTC today as well to look at that chart as promised in the last video. And I'm also going to go into some stats. And then, of course, after we covered all that, we look at the key short-term levels here for Bitcoin as well. Right, guys, so without any further ado, let's kick things off with the stats right away and then go into the charts. Right, guys, and here we have the stats for September, something that I covered in the video on Saturday already. If you haven't seen it yet, then make sure to check that out. The high for September, the price high for Bitcoin, is usually in on the 13th of the month, and the low is in on the 21st. And that really lines up nicely with a lot of stuff that we saw in the price action, but also according to the events that are coming up this month. Last week on Friday, I already covered the US jobs report, the NFP, the non-farm payrolls. And we've seen that we could have expected a bit of a pump after a miss. Less jobs have been created, therefore more pressure to cut the rates on the Feds, but it did not really display in the price so much because there's consensus right now is that 90% probability that we're seeing a 25 basis points rate cut this month after the FOMC meeting that concludes on the 17th, of course. I'll get into that heavily here towards the weekend and the beginning of next week to really cover the statistics there. But now is important what is happening today. First of all, we have the producer price index, the PPI, coming out, and that is today at 2:30 p.m. Central European time, so literally just over an hour away from now. And then of course that's 8:30 a.m. for you on the East Coast. And what we can expect here is that if the data comes out hotter than expected, then we can expect a bit of a pullback from Bitcoin. We can see that here. You can take a screenshot of this and then look at it in detail, but I give you the historical averages here. Usually when those numbers came out hotter than expected, Bitcoin dropped within an hour by 0.87%, and within 4 hours just under 1.4%, 1.65% within 24 hours, and almost 2% within 72 hours. When the numbers came in cooler than expected though, then we pumped with just under 1% within an hour, 1.36% within 4 hours, 1.72 within 24 hours, and over 2% within 72 hours. So there you can see that the price gets a strong impact from the PPI outcome, and when it's in line actually with what we expected, the price barely moves at all. So very, very strong catalysts here, but nonetheless tomorrow there's a catalyst which usually brings even more volatility, and that's the CPI, the main inflation numbers. They're coming out tomorrow, same time, 2:30 p.m. Central European time or 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And yeah, guys, this is what we expect is the year-over-year percentage to be right around 2.8%. So anything above that is of course bearish, anything below that is of course bullish. And here you can also take a screenshot, look at the exact numbers from the last 12 months here. I gave you the average for those 12 months here on the bottom as well. When the numbers came out hotter than expected, then we usually saw a price move of Bitcoin a negative 1.73% within an hour, 2.63 within 4 hours, just over 3% in 24 hours, and just under 4% within 72 hours. Of course, when the numbers came in cooler, then we had the exact opposite, almost 2% within an hour, almost 3% within 4 hours, 3.5% within 24 hours, and over 4.2% within 72 hours. And the same thing here. When the numbers came out in line with what we expected, with consensus, then the price barely moved at all over those time windows. So really, really key events coming up here, with the main one tomorrow, the CPI numbers. And then, of course, tomorrow we also have the European Central Bank meeting, which is basically equivalent for the FOMC meeting, but in Europe. And there the numbers will be released 2:15 p.m. Central European time, and then 2:45 p.m. is the press conference. Press conference is very important as well. If you look at this here, also please take a screenshot so you can look at it in detail. And I mentioned it in the previous two videos. I will release all this data over on bitcoineasy.io in the future, in the coming week potentially, so you can get all these reports every month and also on a weekly basis to know exactly what you can expect for the month, how Bitcoin has been performing historically throughout the month, and then also what key events are coming up within the month. And then I keep updating that every week in case something new shows up, some more spontaneous events that at the moment take place a lot, since of course there's a lot of tension globally, and different meetings keep occurring that of course are a strong catalyst for the Bitcoin price and the crypto market as well. So here we can see the historic data. One thing that I really want to point out here, we go back to the averages here, is that the tone of the speaker during the press conference has a bigger impact than the actual numbers that come out. And that's not only true here for the ECB meeting, that's also the same for the FOMC meeting, which I will get into potentially towards the end of the week or the beginning of the week next week, since the meeting is taking place on Wednesday. And here we can see when the rates have been hiked, put up by 25 basis points, but the tone was dovish or positive, then we can see that although the interest rates kept going up, the tone dictated the price move for Bitcoin afterwards. We can see here, after this outcome, we'll look at it exactly when it was in a second. We pumped almost 1% within an hour, 1.5 within 4, then 1.8 within 24 hours, and 2.5% within 72 hours, although the ECB decided to put the interest rates up. And there we can see that was exactly here, September 14th, 2024. And we had a dovish tone as it was announced that we're coming to the end of hiking the rates, which here you can see happened 5 or 6 months in a row. Right, guys, so these are the key 2 events to look out for tomorrow. And then, of course, the PPI is probably already out. But keep your eyes on these numbers here. Take a screenshot so you know exactly how you can look at the outcome and what you can expect from the outcome over the next 72 hours. Alright guys, enough data. That's everything that we need to cover. As I said here, the FOMC meeting coming on the 17th. That's Wednesday, exactly in a week actually. And then also this week I will be covering some more data here as far as on-chain and flow data goes, to get a better idea of how institutional demand is looking and how heavily the markets are leveraged right now. Okay guys, that's it here for the data. Now let's go into the charts. I'm gonna kick things off here, not with Bitcoin today, but we go into the ETHBTC chart. Of course, I covered Bitcoin in the last couple of videos on the weekly, daily chart. And so if you want to know those levels and to compare it to what I'm talking about today, later on in this video, where of course, I'll go back into the daily chart for Bitcoin and I'll show you exactly what the key levels are here that you need to keep an eye on when these numbers come out during these events in the next couple of days. So yeah guys, here ETHBTC, massive spot here. We can see that a couple of weeks ago here, the week of August 18th to August 25th, we saw that we have crossed a line here, a monumental line, which of course we're coming out of this massive downtrend here, where we can see the top from this trend is started here back in September 22. You can even pull it back all the way here to December 21, right after the new all-time high was in here for Ethereum and Bitcoin. But here to get the most exact and precise line, we're connecting all the bodies here since the top here in September 2022. And there you can see that we had a massive downtrend here, printing lower highs and lower lows. And recently we broke out of this, not only from a diagonal perspective, but also from a horizontal perspective. You can see a very clear weekly close above there. And we try to stay above the horizontal line, of course, given to us here by the prior highs in this downtrend here, in this structure. And there we failed to stay above, fell back below, and are now currently actually retesting the diagonal trend line here. And ideally we want to get back above here 0.04, then to really indicate that we're confirming this level as support, and then to break the top here, the previous high of 0.042, to then indicate that we headed up here to at least 0.055. And when we're on the way there, then that means that a lot of money is flowing into Ethereum, which then is likely that a lot of money is also flowing into other altcoins. And we find ourselves in the midst of alt season. And then of course it becomes really, really decisive to look at all the key charts and all the key targets to know where the potential cycle top is, not only for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but then of course I will also be covering in the coming days all of our favorite altcoins here on the channel: ETH, XRP, Solana, Sui, and Hyperliquid. So keep your eyes out for that. And guys, if you're new to the channel, first of all, a really warm welcome. Forgot to mention that in the beginning, but hey, if you do enjoy the analysis, join us here in Team Bitcoin Easy by smashing up the subscribe button, activating that notification bell, and to really help me out with the algorithm. If you like what you see here, smash up that like button as well. It really helps me out a lot more than you can imagine here with the very, very strict YouTube algorithm. And if you want to suggest anything, of course, guys, get down in the comments. Let me know what else you want to see here or whatever you want to talk about. Hey, there's a big boxing fight coming up. I love talking about UFC and other stuff as well. So if you're bored or if you feel like talking about any of these things, get down there and I'm happy to answer all of your questions. Right, guys, that's it here for ETHBTC basically. Okay, guys, now let's go over to Bitcoin, see what's going on over there. Here, of course, nothing has really changed in the weekly chart. We spoke about it here on Sunday. We were just wrapping up this candle here. I told you the most bullish scenario would have been, but also unlikely that we get back above here 114,400, that pivotal line here coming from the prior range closing lows here, and that would also engulf that previous week's bearish candle here and put us straight back on track here to test the previous highs in the $120,000 to $125,000 area, and also give us another test here of the 8-year resistance, which of course is the key line here that has held the Bitcoin price down throughout the last 3 cycles here, at least since 2017. And of course, a high time frame resistance line like that, very, very strong point to crack here. And if we do crack that, then we can look at this riffled channel here, the riffled lines, right? And also there we see that the resistance is coming in alignment with a couple of very strong Fibonacci extension levels here that we pointed out quite a while back here in the $135,000 and $150,000 range, which could put potential targets then for our cycle top if Bitcoin manages to break the 8-year resistance line. And especially if Bitcoin then also manages to close above there on a monthly closing basis, then we can potentially expect to see much higher price targets for Bitcoin. And then it also could happen that the cycle tops are not in the time frame that we used to between November and December, especially in post-halving years. That's been the case. 2016 we had a halving, then the top was in November 2000 or December 2017. Then we had the halving in 2020 when the top was then in November 2021. And therefore from these statistics and also from the time frame from the point of the halving to the actual top of the cycle, that would point at somewhere between October, November this year for the Bitcoin top and the crypto market tops to be in. But if we break this 8-year resistance line in alignment with also that the dynamics in the market have changed a lot compared to previous cycles, meaning that institutional money is coming in and we're still really waiting for the retail to jump on board to push the price even higher, then of course these dynamics could change as well, and we could see cycle tops potentially somewhere in Q1 or Q2 2026 or even after that. But of course I'll keep you updated on everything here on when I start seeing signals that the top is in, and then I will of course tell you exactly what my strategy is and what I'm looking at and how I'm planning to exit the market. And for now, the key indicator here, of course, that is still showing us that the market is intact is this trend here, talking about the riffled line that's giving us those 2 targets here. There we also have to look at the support line of this ascending channel, where we can see here in this area between $100,000 and $98,000, we have massive support here from a horizontal perspective. We can see a strong support and resistance area, right? Also in alignment with the 23.6 here on the Fibonacci retracement of the entire bull market currently, and that is also then in alignment here with the 50-week SMA key indicator. As we know, I keep telling you guys this on this channel, but it's that important that every time we put in a new all-time high for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin then ended up closing below there, not shooting a wick below here like there, but closing below there, it was always a confirmation sign of 100% hit rate that the top is in and that we're going down to our bear market lows. And yeah, there we see there's also the line of this ascending channel here now. So very, very strong support area between $100,000 and $98,000. And that would be then a clear sign if we get down there that the top is in here if we close below there. And then we got to look out for our bear market lows where the potential bottom is there. And yeah, guys, last cycle I was very close to nailing that actually. I pointed it out back in May 2022 or something. I told you guys that I don't see the price going any lower than $17,500 coming from certain Fibonacci levels and historic data. And that was actually then in that bottom in June 2022. And it held until the FTX scandal happened and we dropped down to like 15K. But we were very, very close to the bottom. And also, if you look over on my X page, you can always see the pinned comment. That's, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but that's all coming from data. And that's why I tell you how important it is that we combine data with technical analysis to get a much better idea of where the current market is at from a broader trend perspective, right? And there we saw in the data and combined that with technicals and saw that the bull market is likely starting between November and January. So November 2022 and January 2023. And if you look at the charts, it's right down here. And then here, from then on, it started moving up here. And this is something that I told you guys about as well as sometime in August 2022. And it's nothing, no crystal balls, no magic involved. It's purely based on technical and data analysis. So this is what I'm doing here again, guys. I'm focusing, of course, on the larger time frame to keep your mind focused on the broader trend and to show you how I think about the market. I don't like to cause panic where people are just posting charts without even showing the time frame and say Bitcoin's breaking out, we're going to the moon. You know, you will never see that from me. I will always give you the key lines that are important to confirm a breakout, and then the potential target areas for where the price is going, if the price is going upwards as far as resistance goes, or if the price is dropping as far as support goes. So no hype on this channel. If you're looking for that, that is the wrong channel to look at. Let's talk about the key pivot points here. Of course, this is something we spoke about a lot here in the past. 112,500, 600, that area here. Previously, when we spoke about it, was down here. That's where I told you guys this is the clear area that we need to look out for. If this breaks down, then we can start approaching here the 200 EMA area. You can see that down here. That's of course still in play as long as the price is trading below that key pivot point here in $112,600. You can see here that's also the prior high in this downtrend, and that's the exact level we're struggling here with to break on a closing basis. So this here is still the area, and there we see the cluster as well in the form of the Fibonacci retracement level, the 23.6, where we're retracing here the entire uptrend from April to our top here back in August. And that previous support level now turned into resistance, accompanied by the 50-day EMA here, just below the 21 EMA. So a very strong cluster that we want to see Bitcoin back above to confirm as support. And then we could see a move back here into the $120,000 to $122,000 range. And then it becomes decisive here right at $120,000 on a daily closing basis. That would give us the green light that we're revisiting the prior high here. And then in the $125,000 area, we know that the 8-year resistance wait for us there. And if we can break that and continue upwards from there, then of course we know that there's a very strong resistance coming in at 135,000, and after that at 150,000, and above that really the sky's the limit. Somewhere next in line would be then 170 to 180,000. But yeah guys, nothing to talk about yet. This is what's on the table for us right now. This is the key level to break to the upside, and then to the downside, still the same thing here as well. Right at 108,300 bucks. If we start seeing daily closes below there, then we know that the $105,000 to $104,000 area is our last daily level here, really giving us support with the 38.2, this key horizontal level, and the 200 EMA being a nice strong cluster in the area, giving potential for the next low here in this downtrend, and potentially even the low here, the overall low for this downtrend from where we can bounce then. And if that doesn't hold, then we saw the $100,000 to $98,000 area on the weekly chart, how important it is. And I want to just quickly go into the CME chart as well. Here we see at 100,000, we have the 200-day SMA here, which you can see has been massive support throughout this entire bull market. There we can see we also still have a CME gap right below $98,000. Of course, we can go lower than 98K. We can shoot wicks down here, close this gap, and then we see that we also have a very strong cluster here on the CME chart in that area. So if this now doesn't hold, we see that there's nothing really below us anymore that can give us support here. And if we see the CME here closing below 108,800, then here that, of course, very, very likely that it comes into play. And then, of course, then it becomes decisive on a weekly closing basis that we stay above that area, that we get a strong bounce from there. Otherwise, this could clearly signal the end here for this bull market. I'm not saying anything yet. I'm not saying this is in play. I'm just telling you where the exact levels are. And then what you want to do with this information, how you want to trade the market and everything, that's up to you. I'm not posting anything about this here on YouTube. In the future, I will get into more short-term stuff as far as the key areas go, to spot trades on the 4-hourly and hourly chart and so on. Over on bitcoineasy.io. But yeah guys, here on this channel I really want to focus on market structure and teaching you my methods on how I read the charts. And then if you're interested in the future, then I will give you access to groups over on bitcoineasy.io where I will be sharing some more short-term stuff. This is not financial advice here, purely for educational and hopefully also for entertainment purpose. And yeah guys, that's basically it here. I think I have it all covered, and I don't think it will be out before the PPI, but hope you can still use the information here for the event. And the big one is of course the CPI tomorrow. Brings more volatility into the market anyway, so I'll make sure to bring out the video covering all the data for the CPI and everything way before the event takes place, so you can prepare for that one. And then next one, of course, next week, the big one, the FOMC meeting that finally gives us clarity about what the Fed is doing with the interest rates. Right guys, I'm out of here now, and as always, happy trading and see you soon.